In this tutorial, you'll learn 1. How to install XAMPP for Windows, 2. Address some common issues you might encounter after installation, and 3. Create the perfect project to test both PHP and MySQL. Alright, in your browser, search for XAMPP. Select the official website at apachefriends.org. Next, click the Windows installer link. If it doesn't pop up straight away, click the appropriate download link to start the download. Once downloaded, double-click the installer, accept the permissions, and the installer should start. You may see a warning about the user account control. This notice is telling us not to save XAMPP in the program files directory. So click OK and continue with the installation. Click Next a couple of times and choose where you want the installation. I'm just leaving mine on the root of the C drive. Click Next, accept your language choice. Then click Next again. The install process on my PC took about 5 minutes. Once installed, click Finish and it'll open up the control panel. The first thing we'll do here is start Apache, which is our web server, and MySQL, which is our database. To check that both are working, click the Apache admin button. This should open the XAMPP landing page, which is also currently the root of our web server. From here, we can access PHP MyAdmin, our database manager. You can also open this by clicking the MySQL admin button on the control panel. If Apache and MySQL are running in the control panel, you can access them directly by typing in http localhost for the landing page and http localhost/phpMyAdmin for the database manager. If you want to change your editor or browser, you can open the control panel and click Config. Here, you can use the Explorer to find your editor. In my case, I'll choose Notepad++, another good editor. For the browser, XAMPP will use your system settings by default, but if you want to override this, you can also use the Explorer to select your preferred browser. In this case, I've chosen Firefox. While we're here, let's make startup quicker by selecting the Autostart checkboxes for the Apache and MySQL modules. After that, click Save. If you get the access denied error, we need to perform some extra steps. Don't worry, errors like this can feel like a robot, but it's actually easy to fix. First, quit the control panel and clear any error messages. Then open Task Manager to fully shut down XAMPP. Find XAMPP in the list and right-click it and select End Task. Once that's done, close Task Manager and open up an Explorer window. Navigate to your XAMPP directory, scroll down and find xampcontrol.exe. Right-click it and select Properties. In the Properties dialog, select the Compatibility tab. Check the box for Run this program as administrator and apply the settings. With that done, close the dialog box and the Explorer window, then reopen XAMPP. Now we can go back to Config and reselect our editor and browser, and also recheck the Autostart boxes for the web and database server. This time, when you click Save, everything should work smoothly. With that done, we're ready to start coding. Our web root is found in the htdocs folder, located in the XAMPP directory, wherever you installed it. Mine's in the C drive, but it's easy to find by clicking the Explore button in the control panel. If you have Visual Studio Code installed, you can right-click in the Explorer window and open it directly in VS Code. If not, you can copy the location, open your favorite editor, I'll use Notepad++ as an example, go to Open Folder, paste the location, and press Enter to open that folder. Let's build a quick application to test our PHP and MySQL installation. Start by creating the project folder in the htdocs directory called Recipe Finder. Then create a config.php file to hold our database information. I'll be pasting in the code to save time, but I'll place a link in the description if you'd like to go through the code yourself. If you'd like a full tutorial on the code, drop me a note in the comment section. Right, let's create the database and a user to access it. There are two ways of doing this, using the graphical interface, or GUI for short, or the SQL command window. Let's use the GUI first. With PHP MyAdmin open, select User Accounts and click Add User Account. Add a username, click Generate Password and make a note of this as we'll need it for our config file. I'll paste mine in straight away. Then check Create Database with the same name and grant all privileges, and this should be enough. The other method is by pasting commands into the SQL tab. This is my preferred method because if you ever work on production servers, you may not have access to PHP MyAdmin, so it's a good idea to get familiar with MySQL commands. The next step is to create the table. To save time, I'll use the SQL tab to paste in the commands. That's it. Once you understand a bit of MySQL, the database can literally be set up in seconds. Now we can see our database has been created alongside our empty table. With our database complete, let's finish the rest of the application. We'll start with the file addrecipe.php to upload our recipes to our database. We'll also add a file called searchRecipe.php to filter our recipes. Finally, we'll add index.html page containing the JavaScript to interact with our PHP files. With that done, let's open our project by navigating to localhost/recipe_finder. Okay, it's looking good, But when we open the inspector and click the console, we can see that there's an error. This error is telling us that our JavaScript is receiving something unexpected. So it's a good opportunity to introduce our Apache error log. You can find this by clicking the Apache log button on the control panel and selecting error log. We can see straight away that there's an error, and on closer inspection, it's related to MySQL. After looking more closely, we can see it's an access denied message for the user recipe_user. When I check back on my config file, you can see I've got a classic typo. I've misspelt my username. It should be recipe_finder rather than recipe_user. Now, after correcting it and refreshing the page, the error disappears. We can now start populating our database with recipes. Let's go over what happens when you add a new recipe. Once you've filled in your recipe details and clicked Add Recipe, JavaScript gathers all the data, and using the fetch method, it sends it over to our backend file, add_recipe.php, without refreshing the page. On the server side, PHP receives the data, saves the image to the uploads folder with a unique name, and inserts everything, including the image file path, into our MySQL database. Then PHP sends a JSON response back to JavaScript, either a success or an error message, and JavaScript updates us on the result and refreshes the recipe list on the page so you can see our new addition instantly. We can also see that our upload folder has been created and now contains our recipe images, which are referenced in our recipes table. The last test is to try the recipe filter. Each keystroke is sent to our PHP file, which queries our database for that ingredient. If the ingredient is found in any of the recipes, it will show up in the cards below. It's a simple app, but it has a lot of functionality. If you'd like me to go into more detail, just drop me a comment below. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and if you're ready for more hands-on tutorials like this, hit subscribe and I've got plenty more in store. Thanks all!